wake up, and without thinking, your hand reaches for your phone. The screen lights up. Notifications, messages, endless updates. Maybe you scroll for a while. Maybe you check who liked what. A quick laugh at a meme, a few seconds of a video, then another. Before your feet even touch the floor, you've already consumed more information than your grandparents did in a week. Maybe you open an app just to kill time, but time somehow disappears. You tell yourself you'll stop after one more video, one more reel, one more scroll, but you don't. You feel drained, but you keep going. Then comes the routine. Shower, get dressed, maybe some breakfast, maybe not. You plug into music, podcasts, noise, anything to keep the silence away. On the way to work, school, or wherever you're headed, you're still scrolling, still tapping, still avoiding that quiet moment where you'd actually have to be alone with your thoughts. But here's the thing, this isn't just habit. It's not just modern life, it's conditioning. You've been trained to chase pleasure, to escape boredom, to never be still. And slowly, quietly, it's killing you. Not killing your body. At least not yet. But killing your focus, your clarity, your sense of purpose, your ability to sit with discomfort, to think deeply, to feel fully. And that kind of death happens so gradually, you don't even notice. This is the world Aldous Huxley tried to warn us about. A world where no one needs to be silenced, because no one is listening. A world where no one needs to be forced, because everyone is too entertained to care. Not a future of oppression by fear, but of enslavement by pleasure. He saw what we couldn't, that the most effective form of control isn't force, it's seduction, not through pain, but through comfort. And the most terrifying part? It feels good. You might be thinking, what's the big deal? Everyone does it. And that's exactly the problem. We've normalized it, the constant stimulation, the non-stop consumption, the need to be entertained every single second, but behind that comfort is something quietly corrosive, something that's slowly chipping away at the part of you that was built for depth, for focus, for growth. See, pleasure by itself isn't the enemy. Pleasure is natural, it's necessary, it motivates us, rewards us, and helps us survive. But when pleasure stops being a reward and becomes a requirement, that's when the trap is set. Because here's the truth no one likes to admit, too much pleasure numbs you. It makes it harder to feel joy from simple things. It makes it harder to be present, to sit still, to think clearly. And when every uncomfortable feeling becomes something you immediately try to escape, whether it's boredom, sadness, stress, or even just silence, you stop learning how to deal with life. You stop building resilience. It's like scratching an itch that never goes away. The more you scratch, the more you need to scratch. And over time, you forget what it felt like not to itch in the first place. We don't just use pleasure to feel good. We use it to not feel bad. And that's a dangerous trade-off. Every time you avoid discomfort by diving into distraction, your mind gets the message. Discomfort is a problem. Avoid it at all costs. And slowly, you lose your ability to sit with yourself, to process, to reflect, to grow. Aldous Huxley saw this before most of us were even born. He imagined a world where people wouldn't have to be censored because they'd drown themselves in pleasure. In his words, people will come to love their oppression, to adore the technologies that undo their capacities to think. And look around. Hasn't that already happened? You were made for more than comfort. You were built to face challenge, to sit with discomfort, and to grow from it. But a world that runs on pleasure doesn't want you to grow. It just wants you to stay content enough not to question anything. Now here's where things get even more uncomfortable, because this isn't some random accident of modern life. It was predicted. Aldous Huxley didn't write Brave New World as pure fiction. He wrote it as a warning. But unlike George Orwell, who imagined a future ruled by fear, Huxley imagined something far more subtle and far more seductive. He pictured a world where people wouldn't fight against oppression because they wouldn't even realize they were being oppressed. A world where control wouldn't come through violence, but through distraction, not by burning books, but by filling the world with so much meaningless information, no one would bother to read anything deep. Think about it. You don't need to be silenced when you're already too distracted to listen. You don't need to be told what to think when your thoughts are constantly interrupted by updates, ads, notifications, and noise. And you don't need to be locked up when the prison is disguised as pleasure. That's what makes it so effective. Now look at how it plays out in real life. You're stressed, so you binge a series. You're lonely, so you scroll for hours looking at people you don't even know. You're anxious, so you shop online or eat something sweet or open that same app again. Not because you need it, but because your brain is searching for an escape. It feels harmless. But Huxley understood that when every uncomfortable emotion is met with a distraction, the need to think, reflect, or change, it disappears. He imagined a drug called soma, used to keep people calm, happy, and detached from anything real. Today, we don't need a chemical version. We already have our own. We carry it in our pockets. We open it when we're bored. We tap it when we're restless. We use it when we feel even the slightest bit uncomfortable. And here's the disturbing part. It works. That's why we don't question it. But what we don't see is what it's taking from us. Our attention, our depth, our discomfort, our humanity. You may not be forced into submission, but if you're constantly being entertained, constantly numbing yourself with pleasure, then the outcome is the same. You lose your ability to resist, to wake up, to break free. Because when pleasure becomes your default escape, it becomes the perfect weapon. It doesn't attack you, it just keeps you comfortable enough not to notice that you're not really living. You might say, but no one is forcing me. I choose to do these things. And that's exactly what makes it so powerful, the illusion of choice. You feel like you're in control because you're the one clicking, swiping, deciding what to watch or when to scroll. But if you really had control, why is it so hard to stop? Have you ever opened your phone to check one message and suddenly 20 minutes are gone? You don't even remember what you were looking for. Or maybe you've told yourself just one more episode. But before you know it, you're 3 hours in and the sun's gone down. It's not because you're weak, it's because the system is designed that way. Every tap, every swipe, every algorithm is crafted to hijack your brain's reward system. The platforms aren't trying to entertain you, they're trying to keep you hooked. You think you're in control, but your attention is being pulled by forces you can't even see. These aren't just distractions. They're engineered pleasures, digital versions of soma, created not to serve you, but to use you. And over time, this constant stimulation rewires your brain. It makes boredom feel unbearable. It makes silence feel awkward. It makes doing nothing, just sitting with yourself, feel like a problem that needs fixing. You start craving something new, even when you don't know what you're looking for. You refresh your feed, not because you expect something amazing, but because your brain has been trained to expect stimulation at all times. Aldous Huxley predicted this far before smartphones existed. He didn't need to know what TikTok or Netflix or YouTube would look like. He understood human nature. He understood that the most effective control doesn't come from outside. It comes from inside, from conditioning. When you're trained to seek comfort at all costs, you stop asking hard questions. When every uncomfortable thought is drowned in noise, you stop thinking deeply. And eventually, you don't need anyone to silence you because you've learned to silence yourself. So ask yourself, when was the last time you went a full hour without checking your phone? When was the last time you allowed yourself to feel bored and just sat with that feeling? No distractions, no quick fixes, just presence. If that feels hard, that's not a flaw, that's a symptom. Because once pleasure becomes your go-to solution for discomfort, it also becomes your cage. A cage that looks like freedom. But freedom isn't the ability to choose distraction. It's the ability to choose not to. Think about it for a second. How often do you hear someone say, "I just can't focus anymore," or "I get anxious when I'm not doing something"? Maybe you've even said it yourself. That's not random. That's not just modern life. It's a system working exactly as intended. Because when your brain is trained to expect constant pleasure, it starts rejecting anything that takes time, effort, or patience. And what does that leave behind? A mind that's restless, easily overwhelmed, and constantly seeking the next quick fix. You start a book but can't finish it. You open a long article and scroll straight to the headline. You try to meditate, but after 2 minutes, your mind screams for stimulation. It's not because you're broken. It's because you've been conditioned to find anything slow or silent painful. And when the mind avoids discomfort long enough, it gets weak. It forgets how to endure. It forgets how to think deeply, solve complex problems, or sit with difficult emotions. This is exactly what Aldous Huxley feared. Not a world full of suffering, but a world that would do anything to avoid it. In Brave New World, he imagined people being trained from birth to seek comfort and avoid pain. They didn't fight for truth or meaning because those things were inconvenient, messy, uncomfortable, and discomfort in that world was the ultimate enemy. But here's the twist. That world isn't fiction anymore. Today, discomfort isn't just avoided, it's treated like a threat. We avoid hard conversations because they're too much. We quit jobs, relationships, or commitments the moment they stop feeling good. We label normal emotional struggles as dysfunction just because they're unpleasant. But some of the most important moments in your life will feel uncomfortable. Growth is uncomfortable. Healing is uncomfortable. Purpose is uncomfortable. But if you've been trained to fear discomfort, then by default, you've been trained to fear growth. The more you need pleasure to feel okay, the more fragile you become. Because the world will always have moments that don't feel good. And if you haven't built the strength to face them, you'll run every time. So ask yourself this. Have you noticed that it's getting harder to focus, harder to sit still, harder to just be with your own thoughts? That's not a coincidence. It's a system that's been slowly softening you, not to make you happy, but to make you easier to manage. Because strong people, people who can face pain, boredom, silence, are hard to control. But people who need constant comfort, they'll do anything to avoid losing it. If all of this feels a little too familiar, good. That discomfort you're feeling right now, it's the first sign that something inside you is still awake. Because the real danger isn't that we're addicted to pleasure, it's that we've forgotten what we gave up in exchange. And what we gave up was purpose. See, pleasure feels good in the moment, but it doesn't last. It fades quickly, leaving behind an emptiness that demands to be filled again and again. That's why no matter how much you consume, you never feel full. Because what you're really hungry for isn't another video, another snack, another scroll. You're hungry for meaning. Think about the moments in your life that shaped you, the ones you're proud of. Were they easy? Were they comfortable? Probably not. They were the moments that stretched you, tested you, challenged you to grow. They were moments of purpose. Purpose doesn't show up in a notification. It doesn't come with likes, applause, or instant gratification. It takes time. It takes silence. And sometimes it takes walking through things you'd rather avoid. Loneliness, fear, uncertainty. But unlike pleasure, purpose leaves something behind. It builds, it strengthens, it roots you. Aldous Huxley understood this trade-off. He wrote, "The peace of easy happiness is bought at the price of the soul." And that's what's happening now. A quiet trade made daily. Comfort over meaning. Ease over effort. Numbness over depth. But the good news, you can reverse it. Not by giving up every pleasure, but by becoming conscious of what you consume and why. Next time you feel the urge to open your phone just because you're bored, pause. Next time you reach for a distraction to avoid thinking, stop and ask yourself, what am I running from? That small pause is power. That moment of awareness is a crack in the wall. And through that crack, purpose can start to seep back in. You don't need to become a monk. You don't need to live without joy. But if you want to feel truly alive, not just stimulated but alive, you need more than pleasure. You need something to live for, because pleasure may excite you, but purpose transforms you. Now that you see the pattern, you have a choice. You can go back to it, to the scrolling, the noise, the endless search for something to make you feel better for a moment. It's easy. It's familiar. It doesn't ask anything of you. Or you can begin the harder path, the quieter path, the one where you start listening to your own mind instead of silencing it, where you learn to sit with your boredom, where you face your discomfort and let it teach you something instead of running from it. That's the path of awareness, of depth, of actual freedom. Because here's the truth, the pursuit of pleasure isn't killing your body. It's slowly killing your will. It's dulling your mind. And over time, it turns you into someone who looks alive on the outside, but is numb on the inside. Aldous Huxley saw it coming. He didn't just warn us about control. He warned us about indifference. A world where people stopped caring, not because they were forced, but because they were too comfortable to notice. But if you've made it to this point in the video, something inside you is already awake. Maybe it's been whispering for a while. Maybe this was the first time you heard it clearly. Either way, don't ignore it. Use it. Start small. Take back your mornings. Spend a few minutes in silence. Journal your thoughts instead of drowning them. Ask yourself not what feels good, but what matters, what lasts, what leads somewhere. Because once you begin to live with purpose, not just pleasure, you become harder to manipulate. You become someone who's not easy to distract. You become someone who sees through the illusion, and that makes you powerful. So now I want to hear from you. Have you noticed how deeply our world is shaped around distraction? Have you ever felt like you're losing yourself to the constant need for stimulation? Share your thoughts in the comments. I read everyone, and your voice matters here. If this message resonated with you, hit the like button so more people can break free from the same trap. And subscribe to the channel if you're ready to keep questioning, keep growing, and keep waking up. Because we're not here to be passive, we're here to take back our minds.